What is up, YouTube? So back in at another episode here. I want to talk about the 5 minute scalping chart. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on Tradingview here for you guys. And let's hop into the 5 minute chart. Because I know a lot of people have been asking smaller time frames, short-term trading, scalping, more scalping, and more scalping. So I'm going to go ahead and just talk about how I view the 5 minute chart for scalping and how I see potential trade setups. And I know that the New York sessions just closed. The Fed interest rate was unchanged today, but Jerome Powell's speech was very, very dovish, which means it was not hawkish. So hawkish is positive and dovish is negative. So just something to think about. You can clearly see what has happened within the last hour of New York sessions and what has happened to the US dollar pairs. So basically today, US dollar was a massive sell-off right after the interest rate decision. So going in between here, now I'm looking at buying it as a retracement for this upcoming session. Now, the only session that is open right now is Sydney's session. And so, and plus, at this time from 4 p.m. So what I'm relating back is for those that are on the same time zone as me in Chicago, Central Time Zone. So it is 4:09 p.m. right now, and from 4 p.m. when New York closes, you have Sydney sessions opening, and from Sydney all the way to Tokyo, you have a 2 hour window. Within that 2 hour window, I wouldn't even advise on any scalping at all until Tokyo opens. So within the first hour of Tokyo, then you can go ahead and be like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start scalping. The first hour of each session is by far the best session to scalp. Like the first hour of each session. So first hour of Tokyo, first hour of New York, first hour of London. So can't go wrong with that. And that gives you 3 hours of scalping. So it's kind of like a part-time trading thing. So based on this, I will be looking to buy. So let's see. Yeah. So based on the 5 minute chart right now, I'd be looking to buy USD JPY as a pullback going back up. And I would target the first resistance price would be here at 108.57. Now it came all the way down at the wick here at 108.47. And so right now buying it would be making it no chance on buying anyways, because you'd be losing 4 pips right now. So basically you have a 10 pip gap from 4.7 and all the way to 5.7. Easy math. So with a 10 pip gap range, I won't be surprised if USD JPY comes back down to test 108.47, tries break a little bit lower, and then bounces back up again, back to 5.7 again. So that would be how I would anticipate based on looking at the 5 minute chart. So let's go ahead and look at another pair. Another pair that I would recommend scalping is Euro. Euro is by far the lowest spreads out of all the currencies compared to USD JPY, the US dollar to the Japanese yen. So if you're going to scalp, why would you scalp the pound or gold or USD Swiss or USD CAD or even Australia and New Zealand? Makes no freaking sense because the spreads are higher. And if you decide to open up a micro account, there is no point scalping on a micro account because the spreads are 15, 20 plus. So you seriously have to go on the advanced mode on your MetaTrader 4 settings and look at the spreads. Or if you're on your PC, look at the spreads because that's the most important thing, especially when you want to start scalping. If you don't know what spreads are, you should probably Google what spreads are in Forex. So I'm not going to dive in and talk about what spreads are, but for me, I would look for spreads that are 6 and under. Or even just at 2 to 3 spreads. So just something to think about, especially when you're scalping. Obviously, when you're swinging, it doesn't matter because you're holding trades for days or weeks or even months. So let me delete all this. Let's go to Euro. I know there's not a whole lot going on, and I'm choosing not the best time to talk about this, but this was brought up to me, man, I don't know, like so many times. So I just got some time today to do it because the rest of the week I'm gonna be busy. So based on this, I would be looking to sell euro to the dollar. Reason being, it's hit a massive high, okay, and it's already tumbling back down. First support right here, looking for it to retest here again. So probably catch like maybe a 2-3 pips around here, and then for it to bounce back up to retest the high again at 111,420. From there, I would look for a double top, right? I would look for a double top resistance to be created here and then send it back down. Don't mind this blue line. This blue line, I believe it's a trend line, so I will explain that later on. Hopefully this weekend. I know some people are asking about trend lines. So euro to the dollar and US dollar to the Japanese yen are by far the two best scalps. No, the best pairs for scalping because they have the lowest spread. Now euro has the lowest spreads, but the best time to really trade euro is during London and New York. Now, why I talk about USD JPY a lot is because it's a universal base pair. It deals with the US dollar, right? It deals with the US dollar, their New York sessions, and it deals with the Asian sessions. So it's an all-around universal pair that deals with the 24 hours in the day. And then even during London, UJ is so affected within the first 2 hours of London sessions anyways. And so that's why I love trading this pair, and it's by far the best pair to scalp and swing. And it's easier to count the digits because it's a 3-digit in the front and 3 digits in the back. So it's easier to look at price. So that's why I talk about USD JPY a lot. So some things to consider if you decide to use the 5-minute chart as your go-to time frame is that you should really look back. Always look back. Now, I wouldn't really look back too much, but if you were to look back at what happened on New York sessions, right? Let's look back here on New York sessions. From what I want to highlight here is what happened from this is GMT time, but from 12 back to 12, right? Notice that price is very similar. And what I'm trying to pinpoint, right, are highs and lows. Notice that very similar price structure from support is being broken or retested. And we have a very similar zone structure. So I'm going to highlight this one and then this one is about to start. So now you kind of get a formation and of a zone structure of how things are going up and down, right? Like collapsing back up or bouncing back down. And so now you have a structure to where you can pinpoint on price gap. And that way, if you decide to look at the price gap, then you have a zone to where you can fall back to in case if zone is broken out of the structure. Like I'm talking about breakouts. And when it gets rejected, it comes back to the same price zone. So it's very, very crucial to pay attention to these price gaps, especially when you decide to add more positions on scalping, or if you decide to hold the position based on some kind of trend structure that you're noticing. And if you do notice some kind of massive move and it's creating the trend and it's still creating the trend, then you go ahead and go straight to the 15-minute chart. So I'm just highlighting some important factors here that just in case if you decide that you want to go from scalping and if you see a setup for a trend structure, like a new leg going down or a new leg going back up, then that's my go-to to start stacking like 5-6 positions. Now I wouldn't go all out and stack and have a massive drawdown, But that's if you decide you want to be a high risk trader on yourself. So let me erase all this. Oops. I know this might be a long video. So now you can see why I wanted to buy versus sell is for the pullback, is for the retracement. And it's going to retest this resistance for a bit. And so now based on fundamentals is gonna break you most of the time. What I mean by break you is that it likes to, what is it? It hit, like when you trade high impact news, it hits you so hard to where you're like, you just want to just make your money back, or you just take a break and let the markets play out. And so based on the Fed's decision that happened today, it wasn't much of a massive move that I thought it would happen. So from the wick here and all the way down here, right? So you're talking about 4, 6, and 7, 8. So you're talking about almost 32 pips. Yeah, 32 pip. I'm talking about from wick to wick, from what happened when they did the interest rate decision and the press conference. So a 32 pip range. But when it's NFP, it's like it's more than 32 pips. So that's what I'm trying to say is that it wasn't much of a major move, and I also want to touch base on a little bit on gold as well. Let me see here. Based on what happened to gold, yes, gold had a massive move because of what happened to Powell's speech being dovish, but going back down again. So fundamentals will always have its move and will always have its events to play out with the markets. And it likes to have these massive breakouts to where it ends up being a false movement, which means like, oh, it might be a new leg going up, or it might be a new trend going up. And you have to be very careful and be precise when they have their pullbacks, because when they do have their pullbacks, then you have to adapt to the markets right away. So if you, let's just say you say, oh, well, gold's been going up ever since the Fed's interest rate, after the Fed's press conference, and you decide that you want to keep buying gold all the way up to 1480. Now you really have to look at, okay, where is that right now? Okay, closed at 1474, right? It had a massive move up to 1478, and you're looking for 1480 to close it up for the week. Can it hit 1480? I wouldn't be surprised if it hits 1480 sometime tonight or maybe Friday, because maybe tomorrow dollar's going to have its massive pullback. So if dollar decides to have a massive retracement, then gold's going to have a massive retracement going back down. And that means it probably end up retesting the wick again that was at 1467, right when the initial spike of the interest rate decision. So it's just something to think about and always anticipate, especially when the markets are at a really high volatile move, especially on the fundamental side. So we are at Wednesday night. So listen, just something to look into, and basically all I'm talking about is price action. Not so much on candlesticks. I wouldn't rely too much on candlesticks when I'm scalping, because you don't want to be looking at every single candlestick pattern or inverted hammers or doji candles. You don't want to be looking at that. What you want to look for is pinpoint price structure. Where's the price being at right now? Where's resistance and support? You can't go wrong scalping support and resistance, especially on a shorter time frame. Pinpoint where support and resistance is at. Pinpoint the lows and the highs on this 5-minute time frame, okay, which I already did, and pinpoint the zones. And I already pinpoint the zones by already moving back out. And so when you pinpoint zones, then you can be like, okay, what I'm really looking at now. And so it is very crucial, it's very crucial when you pinpoint the zone structure so that you don't get too caught up on saying, oh, well, it was going down at the last couple hours in the New York session because of the Fed's press conference. So I'm gonna keep selling it. Yes, you are right. But but like I said, you have to be prepared when it decides to have a massive pullback. So when it does have a massive pullback going back up and it retraces right back to its previous high, and like I said, what I outlined from the wick to wick here is 32 pips. If it decides to go back up and retrace 30 pips, or half of that, 16 pips, half of that, so somewhere around here, then you basically are selling for nothing. So always make sure you know what you're shooting for, and always backtrack. Always backtrack your positions in case if it fails on you. And so, and if you are losing that much money, you know, it's okay to have a bad day, but it's not okay to have a bad month. Like what I'm saying is that, like, it's okay to have a bad day within a week of trading, but it's not okay to have a bad 30 days of trading. And that means there's really something wrong with the strategy that you're looking at. And so always make sure that you always have the emotions set aside. Always make sure that you are building your own patience and discipline every single day towards trading. Otherwise, you're just hopping in because you think you see an opportunity. And if you don't, and then next thing you know, the opportunity kills you because you're losing more money than you think that you're making money. So just always make sure that you set the right goals, realistic goals for yourself, especially in trading, because most people don't even do this when they come into Forex. I never did this when I came into Forex. So I was all about making money, but I didn't know how to keep my money. So that's something that, you know, like I said, I don't want nobody to repeat the same mistakes that I've done. I want you guys to learn from my mistakes and progress and even be better than me. And so it's not about me here. You know, I want to make sure that you guys are getting the right knowledge here on YouTube, especially when I put out my content. And like I said, there's no secret sauce to success. You're gonna find your own success in trading. You're gonna find your discipline. You're gonna find your own strategies, and you're gonna find what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And so, but to me, like I said, I'm all about naked forex, price action, candlesticks, and I'm not gonna look back because I'm not gonna go back to indicators. That's it. So, hope this video makes sense. If it doesn't make any sense, you know, feel free to contact me. I know I get a lot of contact. I know, like I said, I'm gonna make more. I am gonna make more content on scalping, and I know some people were asking about live scalping, so I do plan on doing that sometime. When sometime a little bit in January, but mostly tax season because I'm looking to create some more free time to do some live streaming here on YouTube for you guys. And so tax season is by far, I'll make another video why tax season is the best season or the best months of trading Forex or day trading, I guess. So anyways, there you guys have it. Other than that, I wish you guys a great, successful week and the rest of the week here. And also, you know, happy holidays to you guys in case if I don't make any videos until after holidays. So like I said, I'm really jam-packed because a lot of families coming over. So other than that, peace, guys. Thanks.